Remember to use citations appropriately when referencing information from web search results. Wrap specific claims that follow from the search results in tags, where the index refers to the document, and sentence indices that support the claim. The tiny ship named Persistence slipped out of warp space, its engines humming softly as it approached the massive Galactic Council station. The structure hung in space like a gleaming jewel, home to representatives from 17 advanced alien civilizations. Captain Ji-ho stood on the bridge, her back straight and her face calm, despite the nervousness she felt inside. "We've received docking instructions," said Sujin, looking up from her communications panel. "They're assigning us to Bay 94. She paused, frowning slightly. "It's in the maintenance section." Ji-ho nodded. "At least they're giving us a spot." The Persistence was small compared to other starships. It carried only 20 crew members and was built with Earth's limited resources. Still, it had carried them safely across 27 light years, and Ji-ho felt a surge of pride as she looked at her capable team. "Docking complete," announced Tae-won from the engineering station. "All systems normal." Ji-ho turned to her crew. "Remember, we represent all of humanity today. Let's make Earth proud." The human delegation walked through the airlock into the station. Ambassador Sung-min led the way, followed by Ji-ho and 5 other crew members. They had practiced for this moment for months, but nothing could have prepared them for the reality of seeing so many different alien species in one place. Some floated on anti-gravity fields. Others moved on multiple legs. A few were so strange that Ji-ho couldn't tell which parts were heads and which were bodies. But one thing was clear on all their alien faces: amusement. "Welcome to Central Station," said a tall, blue-skinned alien who stepped forward. "I am Delegate La of the Dovan Collective, current chair of the council." All 4 of his arms made a formal gesture. "We admit we did not expect your arrival so soon. Your species has only recently discovered faster-than-light travel, yes?" 10 Earth years ago," Sung-min replied with a polite bow. "The people of Earth are honored to be welcomed by the Galactic Council." A rumbling sound came from several of the aliens. Ji-ho realized it was laughter. "Is that truly your interstellar vessel?" asked another alien, this one covered in shiny plates that looked like metal. He pointed a long finger toward the viewing window where the Persistence was visible. "We assumed it was a shuttle from your actual ship." Ji-ho spoke before she could stop herself. "The Persistence is our ship. She carried us all the way from Earth." This caused more laughter, louder this time. Some of the aliens turned to each other, making comments in their own languages that the translators didn't catch. "Fascinating," said Delegate La, though his tone suggested he found it more amusing than impressive. "Your species must be very compact." A tall, thin alien with 4 eyes stepped forward. "I am Delegate Vel of the Mycarian Alliance. Tell me, how many of your kind were crammed into that tiny vessel? It cannot be comfortable. We had sufficient space," Ji-ho answered, trying to keep her voice neutral. "Humans are adaptable." "Indeed they must be," Vel replied, his upper eyes blinking while his lower ones remained fixed on the humans. "The Council had reports of your civilization, but seeing your technology firsthand is educational." The delegation was led through massive hallways designed for beings much larger than humans. Everything in the station made Ji-ho feel small. The ceilings towered overhead, the chairs in the greeting area were too large to sit in comfortably, and even the refreshments were served in containers too heavy for a human to lift easily. "You will be given time to rest before formal presentations begin," Delegate La explained. "Your quarters have been prepared in section D17. As they followed a station guide, Su-jin whispered to Ji-ho, "D17 is a storage section. I saw it on the station schematics." Ji-ho wasn't surprised. They were being treated like children, not equals. Their quarters turned out to be a converted storage room with hastily installed accommodations. The beds were too large, the ceiling fixtures too bright, and the temperature controls set for species with different needs. "This is what they think of us," muttered Tae-won, looking around the room. Her curiosity not worth proper quarters. Ambassador Sung-min silenced him with a look. "We are guests here. This is just the beginning." That evening, the human delegation attended a reception with representatives from all 17 council species. As they entered the grand hall, conversations paused, and many alien eyes turned to study them. Look at their uniforms, one alien said loudly enough for the translators to catch. So primitive. I heard their ship runs on reaction engines with just a basic warp field, another commented. It's a wonder they didn't get lost on the way here. Jiho kept her head high as she walked through the crowd. She noticed how the aliens towered over them, how their technology glittered and hummed with advanced power. Earth was centuries behind these civilizations, but they had still made it here, across the stars. As the night went on, it became clear the humans were the main entertainment. Few aliens spoke directly to them, but many spoke about them, often just loud enough for the humans to hear. "We will show them what humans can do," Jiho said quietly to her crew as they gathered in one corner of the vast hall. "They laugh now, but they don't know us yet." She looked out a viewport at the tiny Persistence docked among giant alien vessels, like a rowboat among battleships. Small, yes, but it had carried them here, across the darkness between stars. And that was just the beginning. 3 days passed on the station. The human delegation attended council meetings, where they sat in oversized chairs and strained to see presentations designed for much taller beings. They were invited to speak last, if at all, and their questions were often answered with simplified explanations as if they were children. Jiho and her crew spent their free time exploring the parts of the station they were allowed to access. They studied alien technology when permitted, and took careful notes on everything they saw. "The council species think we're primitive," Jiho told her senior staff during a private meeting in their quarters. "But being underestimated can be an advantage." A soft alarm sounded, interrupting their conversation. The sound quickly grew louder, and red lights began flashing in the corridor outside. "Attention all station personnel and visitors," announced a voice in multiple languages. "A spatial distortion has been detected approaching the station. This is a Level 1 emergency. All species representatives return to your vessels immediately. Evacuation procedures are now in effect." The human crew rushed back to the Persistence as the station shuddered around them. Through viewports they saw the massive alien ships preparing to depart, their enormous engines glowing with power. "What exactly is a spatial distortion?" asked Taewon as they hurried through the corridors. "According to the emergency briefing materials, it's a tear." "In space-time," replied Junho. "Very dangerous and unpredictable." When they reached the Persistence, the crew took their stations quickly. Jiho activated the main view screen, showing the massive distortion approaching the station. It looked like a churning storm in space, with streaks of energy flashing within it. "All vessels prepare for departure in assigned order," came the announcement from station control. "Larger ships will depart first due to power-up requirements. Smaller vessels remain docked until final." "Evacuation wave," Jiho frowned. Junho analyzed that distortion pattern. Sujin, monitor the council emergency channel. The view screen showed the first massive ship attempting to depart. As it moved away from the station, a tendril of energy from the distortion reached out suddenly, touching the ship's shields. The shields flared brightly and then failed. The ship's hull began to warp and twist. "The Dovan flagship is being damaged," reported Sujin. "They're sending distress signals." "The distortion is behaving strangely," said Junho, studying his readings. "It's almost as if it's reaching for the larger energy signatures." Jiho watched as station control desperately tried to coordinate the evacuation. 2 more large ships attempted to depart, but the distortion seemed to extend toward them as well. "The bigger ships are drawing the distortion toward them," Jiho realized. "Junho, could a smaller ship with less energy output possibly slip past it?" Junho checked his readings. "Theoretically, yes, a small enough vessel might not trigger the same response." Jiho made a quick decision. Sujin, open a channel to station control. On the screen appeared the 4-armed figure of Delegate Lar. His blue skin had paled with stress. "This is not the time for questions, human vessel," he said tersely. "Remain. Docked until called." "With respect, Delegate," Jiho said, "we've analyzed the distortion pattern. The larger ships are attracting it with their energy signatures. Our vessel is small enough that we might be able to approach without triggering the same response." "Approach? Approach the distortion?" "That is madness," La replied. "We believe we could deploy emergency stabilizers around the distortion." Jiho continued. Our ship can reach places your larger vessels cannot. Another alien appeared on screen beside Lar. It was Delegate Vel of the Mycarians, his four eyes blinking rapidly. The human vessel would be destroyed instantly, Vel said dismissively. Their shields are barely adequate for normal space travel. The station shook violently. Alarms blared louder. Structural integrity at 60% and falling, announced a station computer. Complete failure estimated in 22 minutes. Delegate Lar looked at something off-screen, then back at Jiho. The evacuation is failing, he admitted. 2 major vessels have been critically damaged, and the distortion is growing more volatile. Do you truly believe your ship can help? We do, Jiho replied firmly. After a long pause, Lar nodded. Very well, you have permission to attempt your plan. May fortune favor you. As the communication ended, Taewon turned to Jiho. Captain, our shields weren't designed for this kind of phenomenon. Then we'll need to modify them, Jiho replied. Can you reconfigure our shield harmonics to create a lower energy signature? Taewon thought for a moment. I could reverse the polarity and create a fluctuating pattern instead of a stable one. It would be weaker but might not attract the distortion. Do it, Jiho ordered. Jun-ho, plot a course that keeps us as far from the distortion's tendrils as possible. The crew worked quickly as the station continued to shake around them. Emergency announcements kept coming, each more urgent than the last. Modifications complete, Taewon finally reported, but our shields will only be at 40% strength. Understood. Jiho took a deep breath. Release docking clamps. Take us out slow and steady. The Persistence detached from the station and moved carefully toward the churning distortion. On the emergency channel, they could hear the aliens discussing their attempt. The human ship will be torn apart. At least they're brave. A futile gesture, but admirable. Jiho ignored the comments and focused on their mission. Begin deploying. The stabilizers once were in position. As they approached the edge of the distortion, everyone held their breath. The tiny human ship, once an object of ridicule, was now the station's last hope. First stabilizer ready, announced Jun-ho. Deploying now. A small probe launched from the ship, heading directly toward the distortion. The crew of the Persistence watched, hoping their plan would work and not simply result in their destruction. The first stabilizer floated toward the churning distortion. Every alien watching from the station and evacuation ships expected it to be instantly destroyed. Instead, the small device slipped into position and activated, sending out a gentle pulse that seemed to calm the nearest section of the distortion. It's working, Jun-ho said, surprise evident in his voice. The distortion pattern is responding to the stabilizer. Jiho nodded. Deploy the second stabilizer. Different angle this time. The Persistence moved carefully around the edge of the distortion. On the emergency channel, alien voices had fallen silent, all watching the tiny human ship with newfound interest. I don't understand, Delegate Vel's voice came through eventually. Their shields should have failed by now. Engineer Taewon smiled at his control panel. The shield modifications were his idea. Instead of creating a solid energy barrier like the alien ships used, he had made their shields flutter and pulse, constantly changing frequency. The distortion couldn't lock on to the shifting pattern. Second stabilizer deployed, reported Jun-ho. 30% reduction in distortion activity in that sector. As the Persistence continued its careful dance around the distortion, everyone on board felt the weight of their task. One mistake would mean not just their deaths, but potentially the destruction of the entire station with thousands of lives aboard. We need to place the third stabilizer deeper in, Jiho said, studying the sensor readings. There's a powerful energy node there that's feeding the distortion. That's too dangerous, protested Sujin. The ship wasn't built for this kind of stress. Neither were we, Jiho replied with a small smile. But here we are. Jun-ho, plot the course. The Persistence turned and dove toward a gap in the swirling energy. The ship shook violently as it approached the heart of the distortion. Shields at 30%, warned Taewon. Hull temperature rising. On the station, aliens gathered around view screens to watch the human ship's desperate maneuver. Many had dismissed humans as primitive newcomers, but now they watched in silence as the tiny vessel did what their massive ships could not. How are they doing this? Asked an alien engineer, turning to Delegate La. Their technology is inferior to ours. Perhaps, La replied slowly, we have confused technology with capability. Inside the Persistence, warning lights flashed as systems strained under the pressure. Jiho gripped her command chair as the ship bucked and twisted. Almost in position, Junho announced, his fingers dancing across his console to maintain their course. 5 seconds. Forward 3. Shields failing, shouted Taiwan. Hold position, Jiho ordered calmly. Deploy now. The third stabilizer launched just as the ship's shields collapsed. It shot straight into the heart of the energy node and activated. For a terrifying moment, the distortion seemed to pulse even more violently. Then gradually it began to shrink, Get us out of here, Jiho commanded. Emergency power to engines. The Persistence turned and accelerated away from the collapsing distortion. Systems sparked around them as the ship pushed beyond its design limits. The distortion is stabilizing, reported Junho, amazement in his voice. The 3 points have created a containment triangle. It's working. On the emergency channel, cheers erupted from the watching aliens. The Persistence limped back toward the station, its hull scorched and systems damaged but intact. Final stabilizer readings confirm complete collapse of the spatial anomaly within 12 minutes, Junho announced. We did it, as they approached the docking bay. They saw a crowd of aliens waiting for them. Not in the maintenance section this time, but in the main diplomatic docking area. Persistence, you are cleared for priority docking in Bay 1, came the station controller's voice, with a new tone of respect. The human crew looked at each other in tired satisfaction as they guided their damaged vessel home. When they emerged from the airlock, they found themselves facing not ridicule but silent respect. Delegate La stepped forward, all 4 of his arms extended in a formal gesture of honor. Captain Jiho, he said, his voice carrying across the suddenly quiet docking bay. The Council acknowledges your bravery and ingenuity. You have saved thousands of lives today. Jiho bowed slightly. We are pleased to have helped. But how? Asked another alien, pushing forward. It was one of the chief engineers of the station. How did your small vessel succeed where our advanced ships could not? Taiwan stepped forward. We modified our shields to create a variable pattern instead of a stable one. Your shields are stronger but fixed in frequency. The distortion could lock onto them and disrupt them. And your stabilizers, added another alien technical officer. They used a resonance pattern our systems never considered. Sometimes, Jiho said quietly, being different is an advantage. Humans had to solve problems with limited resources throughout our history. We learned to adapt, to find unexpected solutions. The aliens looked at each other, many seeming to reconsider their previous dismissal of humanity. Your ship is damaged, Delegate La observed. Our technical teams will assist with repairs immediately. And, he added, looking somewhat embarrassed, we will prepare more suitable quarters for your delegation. As the human crew walked through the corridors that had previously echoed with alien laughter at their expense, they now heard whispers of a different kind. The humans saved us. Such unusual thinking. Perhaps we have much to learn from them. Jiho caught Sujin's eye and smiled slightly. No one was laughing at the tiny human ship anymore. While the Persistence was being repaired, Science Officer Junho worked late in the ship's lab. Something about the distortion had been bothering him. He reviewed the sensor data they had collected during their dangerous mission, running analysis after analysis. When Captain Jiho entered the lab, she found Junho staring intently at a display showing energy patterns. You should be resting, she said. The repair crews will be finished by morning. Junho looked up, his eyes tired but excited. Captain, I found something strange in the data. The distortion wasn't natural. What do you mean? Look at these energy patterns. Junho pointed to regular peaks in the otherwise chaotic readings. These are artificial harmonics. Someone created that distortion. Jiho frowned, studying the display. Are you certain? Completely. And there's more. Junho switched to another screen. During our approach, our sensors picked up unusual energy readings from the Mycarian flagship, identical frequencies to those in the distortion. The Mycarians, Jiho recalled Delegate Vel's 4 eyes, always watching, always calculating. Why would they create such a dangerous phenomenon? I did some research in the station's public archives, Junho continued. The Macarians have been pushing to lead the council for the past 50 years. If the distortion had destroyed the station during a full session, they could eliminate their opposition while appearing to be victims themselves, Jiho finished, her voice grim. We need to take this to the council. With what proof? Junho asked. These readings are suggestive but not conclusive, and the Mycarians are one of the most powerful members of the council. Jiho thought for a moment. We need more evidence. Can you trace the origin point of the distortion? Possibly, but we'd need to leave the station and follow the energy trail. It's already fading. After a brief silence, Jiho made her decision. Gather the senior staff. We leave in 2 hours. Later, the Persistents slipped quietly away from the station. They had given a polite excuse about testing repaired systems, and in the celebration of their heroic actions, few questioned their departure. They followed the fading energy trail to a small, uninhabited moon orbiting the 4th planet in a nearby system. The moon's surface appeared barren, but their sensors detected artificial structures below ground. Definitely a Mycarian facility, confirmed Sujin, analyzing the communication signals. They're using encrypted channels, but the carrier wave is Mycarian. Can we get closer without being detected? Jiho asked. Taewon shook his head. Not likely, but I have another idea. Our shuttle is small enough that it might avoid their sensor grid if we adjust its power output to mimic natural background radiation. The plan was risky but necessary. Jiho, Junho, and Taewon boarded the tiny shuttle while Sujin remained on the Persistence, hidden behind the moon's far side. The shuttle glided silently over the moon's surface, sensors recording everything. As they passed over a particular crater, Junho's equipment suddenly came alive. Massive energy readings below, he whispered, though there was no need for quiet in the shuttle. Similar to the distortion but more controlled, they're generating another one. They recorded as much data as possible before returning to the Persistence. The evidence was now undeniable. The Mycarians were creating weapons disguised as natural phenomena, capable of destroying entire space stations. We need to return to the station immediately, Jiho said, after reviewing the findings. As they prepared to jump to light speed, alarms blared across the bridge. 3 ships approaching, Sujin reported, her voice tense. Mycarian patrol vessels. They're ordering us to power down and prepare for boarding. They must have detected us after all, Jiho said. How long until they're in weapons range? 2 minutes. Jiho looked at her crew. We can't let them capture this evidence. Prepare for emergency jump. The engines aren't fully aligned for a jump, warned Taewon. It could damage the ship. We have no choice, Jiho replied. But first, let's create a distraction. Jiho outlined her plan quickly. The crew moved to implement it, knowing they had little time. The 3 Mycarian ships approached in a standard capture formation. On their sensors, the Persistence appeared to be powering down as ordered. They're surrendering, reported the Mycarian commander. Prepare boarding teams. Suddenly, the Persistence released several small objects, empty supply containers, rigged with the ship's emergency beacons. Each one broadcast a different energy signature, creating multiple false targets on the Mycarian sensors. In the resulting confusion, the Persistence activated its engines in a dangerous maneuver, slipping between 2 of the patrol ships before they could react. By the time the Mycarians realized what had happened, the human vessel had made its emergency jump to lightspeed, vanishing from their sensors. Find them, ordered the Mycarian commander. They must not reach the station. But the Persistence was already racing back to the Galactic Council, carrying evidence that would change the balance of power throughout known space. The tiny human ship, once laughed at for its size, was now a serious threat to the Mycarians' plans. On the bridge of the damaged but still flying Persistence, Jiho looked at her determined crew. The Mycarians will send ships to intercept us. We'll have to be clever to reach the station. Being clever is what humans do best, replied Taewon with a grim smile. They're just starting to learn that. The Persistence dropped out of light speed just outside the Council Station's security perimeter. The ship showed battle damage, scorch marks along its hull, and one thruster barely functioning. 2 Mycarian cruisers on approach, reported Sujin. They'll reach us in 3 minutes. Open a channel to the station, Jiho ordered. Emergency priority. The face of Delegate Lar appeared on screen, his blue features showing surprise at the Persistence's condition. Captain Jiho, what has happened to your vessel? No time to explain fully, Jiho replied. We have discovered critical information about the spatial distortion. It was artificially created by the Mycarians as a weapon. We have proof, but Mycarian ships are in pursuit. Lar's expression changed from confusion to alarm. These are serious accusations against a founding council member. We know we would not make them without evidence. Jiho nodded to Junho, who transmitted their data package. Please review this immediately. The screen went blank as Lar received the information. Tense minutes passed as the Mycarian ships grew closer. 1 minute until they're in weapons range, warned Sujin. The screen lit up again with Lar's face. His expression was now grave. Your evidence is disturbing. Dock immediately at Bay 1. Council security will meet you. The Persistence limped toward the station as the Mycarian ships approached rapidly. They're charging weapons, reported Sujin. Suddenly, the station's massive defense systems activated, targeting the Mycarian vessels. A powerful voice boomed over all channels. Mycarian vessels, this is Council security. Stand down immediately. Or be destroyed. The Mycarian ships slowed, then stopped their approach. The Persistence docked safely, and its crew was quickly escorted to the Council chamber, where an emergency session had been called. The Grand Chamber was filled with representatives from all 17 Council species. At the center stood Delegate Vel, surrounded by Council security officers. His 4 eyes blinked rapidly as Jiho and her crew entered. These accusations are absurd, Vel was saying. The humans misunderstood what they saw. They are primitive and ignorant of advanced spatial phenomena. Delegate Lar held up a hand for silence. The evidence has been examined by our top scientists. The energy signatures are unmistakably Mycarian in origin. The distortion was artificial. Furthermore, Lar continued, we have dispatched Fast Scout ships to the moon location provided by the humans. They confirmed the existence of a secret Mycarian facility generating these weapons. The chamber erupted in shocked voices. Vel's skin paled as he realized his plan had failed completely. The humans tricked you, he tried once more. Enough. Lar's voice cut through the noise. Council security has already detained the crews of all Mycarian vessels at this station. Their data cores contained orders to attack the Persistence and prevent it from returning with evidence. Jiho stepped forward when asked to speak. She described their discovery simply, without embellishment or accusation. When she finished, the chamber was silent. After the Mycarians were removed from the chamber, Delegate Lar approached the human crew. In 12,000 years of Council history, he said solemnly, we have never faced such treachery from within. Without your intervention, the next attack would have destroyed this station and everyone on it, Jiho nodded. We only did what was necessary. But that is precisely what is remarkable, said another council member. A being composed of shifting crystal formations. You did what was necessary with limited technology and resources. You succeeded where our advanced civilizations would have failed. Lar extended all 4 arms in a formal gesture. The Council has voted unanimously. Earth is granted full council. Membership effective immediately, bypassing the normal probationary period. The chamber filled with sounds of approval. Jiho looked at her crew in amazement. What had begun with ridicule had ended with respect. We have realized something important, Lar continued. In our long history of technological advancement, the Council species have lost something your kind still possesses. Adaptability and innovative thinking. We have become complacent with our power. Our ships are large because we never considered the advantages of being small. Our shields are powerful but rigid in design. Our tactics are predictable because we have not had to improvise for millennia. Jiho listened, still not quite believing this sudden shift in the galaxy's power structure. The Council requests that Earth provide advisors to multiple Council projects. Your unique perspective may help us see solutions we have overlooked. Later that evening, at a celebration honoring the humans, Jiho found herself surrounded by aliens eager to speak with her. Many asked for stories about Earth's history and development. Others wanted to discuss technical ideas inspired by the Persistence's unconventional modifications. "I still don't understand how your shields worked when ours failed," admitted a Dovan engineer. "We made them imperfect," Taewon explained. "They fluctuated rather than remaining stable. Sometimes a flaw can be an advantage." As Jiho looked around the grand hall, she saw her crew engaged in animated conversations with beings from across the galaxy. The same aliens who had laughed at their tiny ship now listened intently to their ideas. Ambassador Sung Min joined her, smiling. "Not bad for newcomers to the galactic stage." Jiho nodded, looking out a viewport where the Persistence was docked. Workers were already beginning repairs, but this time they were using advanced council technology. The tiny human ship sat proudly among the giant vessels, no longer out of place, but a symbol of a new partnership. "This is just the beginning," Jiho said. "Imagine what we'll accomplish next."